So open guard stuff. Let's keep it simple and just focus on getting our connections. Once we get our connections, whether they're double sleeve, sleeve and collar, near side collar, or far side collar, our goal this week is to get connections. Once we get connections, put tension in those connections, and then from that tension, begin our off balance. So our simple drill initially, back up for me a little bit, man. Our simple drill is going to be 2 sleeve grips. And I want to start focusing on putting tension in things. So in his hips and his biceps. So I'm just focusing on adjusting my hip. So right here, nothing's touching the ground except the top side of my right hip. My back isn't flat on the mat. My head's sunk down. I don't want anything touching the ground. I want a good rounded back. Start focusing on putting palms towards the ceiling and putting good tension into his bicep. Switch hip, switch hip, switch hip, switch hip. That's all we're focusing on. Now we're going to add a second step. Maybe Matt gets a pant grip. So if he gets a pant grip, I go to the compressed side, I let my toes fall under, I kick the strip, I pummel back in for a lasso, square my hips back up. Untangle, put tension in, go to the opposing side, kill, lasso, square. Just working tension, just working tension, breaking grips and squaring back up, okay? Super simple for the warm-up, the initial step, just getting tension, stripping grips, maintaining that tension through good connection the whole time, okay? All right, 1, 2, 3. So we're gonna go over a basic off balance first. Back up for me, some monkey. So a lot of times he's putting distance between my guard and him. So I would like to get under his center line so my off balances become easier. So as I put these tensions in place for a warm up, I'm gonna focus on walking my hips closer to him. My gauge is usually when my butt touches his shins. So if my butt can reach his shins, now I can begin an easy off balance. I'm gonna strip a grip, put a foot in the center. As I put this foot in the center, I'm stomping to the mat and lifting the heel above my head. Now monkey's over my center line. Easy for me to go into single leg X, different style X guards from there. So I just want to focus on using these tensions to close the gap, walk close to them so I can create easier off balances. So I'll gauge it. So that's a guaranteed easy off balance. He's never going to allow me to get that close to him. So once I find the right distance and I'm where I feel comfortable, I'm going to strip a grip, stomp that foot, and lift monkey at the same time. Now it's easy for me to get into different guards and positions I would like to get into, okay? So as we get there, we're focusing on our tension. We're focusing on the positive connections we have. We can do all this from a collar sleeve. Nothing's changed. Still working here. Look at lassos. I can start working off balances, create the openings I want to begin to shoot my offense, okay? So just focus on the connection and tension. Now as you walk your hips closer to manage the distance, use that to help your off balances, okay? All right, 1, 2, 3. It's called a hook sweep, but it's popular right now because Meregali hits it at the highest level that everyone calls it the Meregali sweep. So my goal is to go from a lasso, or I'm sorry, a spider style guard, any kind of open guard, to I want same side collar and sleeve, or I'm sorry, same side collar, opposite side sleeve and lasso. So whatever tensions I'm working, I catch myself stripping into a lasso. Now that I'm in a lasso, watch what I do with my hips. I want to square back up to add more tension into monkey. As I'm adding this tension in, this elbow's glued to my ribs, and I'm gonna focus on turning my palm up. So there he's fighting against my lat, my bicep, everything, instead of my hand being beyond my crotch and he'd be able to swim through and break. So I want to connect this, keep this connected. It's going to be hard for him to get this back. It's glued to my hip. So now I'm going to square my hips back up, and it just added more tension to his bicep. I personally like to go same side collar and keeping the foot into the shoulder here. I've got frames on both sides of his body instead of on one side of his body. This helps me keep him much more square. So now that I've gotten to here, I'm going to focus on putting my right foot between his legs. I'm going to lasso it all the way through, and I'm going to hook here. As I hook here, I'm going to delete this foot off of his shoulder, and just like the off balance we just did, I'm going to stomp and lift. A lot of times, this is what Matt's going to do. He's going to grab my shoulder and sit his weight to make it hard for him to lift. So as he does that, I'm gonna go 4 fingers to the elbow, create an external rotation, and that's gonna bring his hips off the mat. Drop your hips again. Just the fact of me doing that is beginning to elevate his hips. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open them up, and now I'm gonna kick towards 2 o'clock. So it's gonna be hard to bring Matt right over at 12 o'clock. If I can hip him over at 2, the first thing to hit the mat should be his left side of his body over here to an angle. So I'm gonna open this up, create an external rotation, and lift. Now that I'm here, we're gonna keep it simple. Just drop to the mat, focus on head height. I'm already under the elbow. I could come up into some kind of top position, side control, or mount. So, whatever tensions we got, maybe I'm already at one side. I get into my lasso, I've squared back up. I'm gonna focus on stomping and lifting. If he doesn't base in time, I just go ahead and send it. He's based, so I'm gonna create an external rotation on this elbow. It's gonna be hard for me to do this, so go 4 fingers around the elbow, open up, and lift to 2 o'clock. Get the easy sweep. I've already got the inside position of this elbow. I'm just heisting up. I'm focusing on coming up on top, whether I'm mount or side control, okay? So put a foot in the center, create an external rotation on the elbow, lift to 2 o'clock. Don't try to go to midnight, it's gonna be hard. Go to 2 o'clock, okay? All right, 1, 2, 3.